Seiya is an obsessive hero who low-key doesn't give a damn, and he was summoned to this world by the novice goddess Rista. She tells him his job as a hero is to save the world of Gia Branda from an S-rank demon lord, but Seiya never signed up for this, so he tells her to just do it herself. A couple hours earlier, Rista was buried nose-deep in paperwork to summon a hero from Japan. However, due to the S-rank difficulty of the mission, it was hard to find a man who wouldn't instantly drop dead in GBR. As Rista was starting to lose hope, a paper falls on her face, nearly suffocating her to death, but after reading it, she finds the data and stats of a man named Seiya Ryugen. From the looks of it, Seiya is a Japanese hero with unusually high stats, so Rista isn't going to pass up on this golden opportunity and immediately summons him. Yep, no good old truck this time, just a fancy circle and a hot woman calling for a good-looking man. Why do we mention it? Well, the main heroine took her sweet time fantasizer about him, so there was no other way around it. The man with the sharp tongue and no BS attitude tries to talk his way out of this task since it's not his problem. To put it simply, seeing his hesitation to play the hero role, Rista changes the subject to cheer Seiya up. She tells him to say status, but Seiya asks why, to which a frustrated Rista tells him to do it, just do it. Instead, Seiya says property's catching a lady off guard and annoying her. However, she tries not to let this Sigma male get to her and asks him to take her hand so they can go on their adventures. Seiya, though, had different plans after walking away from the doctor's strange portal. Rista followed him and tried to convince Seiya that he was indeed not a man but the man for the job. Still, the main man doesn't buy into her crap and pins the goddess to the wall. Naturally, a thirsty chick who has been living for centuries let her imagination go wild, especially after S took his shirt off. She thought they're going to have some frisky time. Instead, he was taking it off to drop down and blast through them push-ups to 100% get ready. At that moment, the blondie realizes that she forgot to check Seiya's personality before picking him. Rista has chosen an impossibly cautious hero. Soon after, Rista leaves him be and goes seeking advice from fellow goddess Arawa, who tells her to make his stay as comfortable as she can, like make sure he has a good place to sleep, a nice shower, good food, etc., and leave him be till he's ready. Taking her advice, Rista rushes back to her house to hand the main man some food. 06, startled by his magnificent ABS. Rista gets back to business once Seiya trolls her a bit. The mad lad then accepts the food after making sure it's not poisoned, and Rista leaves him to train his heart out, but not before telling him that all that he is doing does not actually increases his stats. A week later, Rista goes to check up on him. When she enters the house, she finds him drying his packs of steel. They take a look at the stats and find out he managed to reach level 15 by doing only basic exercises. It turns out all that one needs is to just lift bro. When they finally travel to GBR, the duo is greeted by multiple townfolk, and while Goddess Rista is all loving and welcoming, hero Seiya is all suspicious and at arm's length away. Any one of these people can be a demon or monster, especially that little girl they met, who, by the way, points to them towards a blacksmith shop. Seiya tries to buy multiple sets of armor. We talk in the main armor, a spare set for the armor, and another spare for the spare, add on top other items on the list, and Rista was like, hell nah, I will be the one handling the business now. All dripped out with what he needs on his back. You might ask what kind of strong monsters he will encounter. Well, it was just a basic run-of-mill slime. To the slime's credit, it made see his pants at first, but then he man up and easily defeated it. Not only that, Seiya also went overboard, burning the entire area with explosions just in case any fragments were still alive. With the side quest out of the way, the duo gets approached by Chaos Menina, a level 66 demon, who is one of the 4 heavenly kings, and most importantly, a chick with some very hairy legs. The man starts sprinting for his life, and quite frankly, I can't blame him. Yeah, we breaking some Usain Bullet records tonight. Speaking about breaking, Seiya almost breaks the goddess's face by throwing dozens of smoke bombs at her way. Rista trips off while running, which creates the best opening for Seiya to blast the chick with his special move Hell's Fire. He then swoops Rista off her feet and heads back to the Divine Realm to practice his heart out. 2 days later, Rista gets bored waiting for Seiya to call her, so she uses a magical ball to check out what's happening in the village they left. Instead of a blue sky and happy silly side characters, young Aista is greeted by Chaos Machina. The latter demands that the duo return, or she will execute one resident every 10 minutes. Not able to witness the once peaceful town turn into a living nightmare, Rista rushes to Seiya and urges him to cut his training short so they can save the people, yet the main man is not about it. He is not moving till he reaches failure. Seiya is a certified gym bro. Much to Ray's shock, the hero is unconcerned about how long it takes him to finish his set, and there is a good reason for that. You see, on Gia Branda, 10 minutes is roughly 16 hours in the Divine Realm. So seeing a man about to lose his head in front of his daughter did not phase Seiya a bit from his master plan. That said, Reese's nagging did I suspect Seiya blasted through his sets half-heartedly till he was finally ready. When she checks his stats, the goddess is shocked to learn he has reached level 21. Rejoiced, they would go and save the day. Ray was about to transport them into the middle of the town, but luckily Saya bonked her, hence they return Agua Branda through a portal behind the chick to hit her from a blind spot. Sadly, she notices just in time and dodges with a smug face. Our boy made it clear he wasn't aiming at her with his new special attack Wind Blade. Instead, he was aiming for the man and his daughter to set them free. Chaos Machina then scans Sage's stats, and although he is lower than her in level, he is higher than her in stats and raw power. Therefore, she releases her domain and powers up using her new explosive muscles. The demon mommy starts leaping around and swinging the great sword with ease, yet brute power is not enough to put the main man down. Thus, Chaos goes one step above and penetrates herself with her own sword. After impaling herself, Chaos transforms into her true form, a big hairy demon that belongs to the ugly bastard section. Now at a greater demon level, Chaos flies and drops down at top speed with a power punch capable of destroying buildings, yet our boy blocks it with one arm, much to everyone's surprise. Thanks to Reese's determined to peep at Saya's stats, it gets revealed that the cautious hero has been using the fake-out skill the whole time since day one in the God's Realm. Saya used the skill to hide his actual level, which is currently at level 37, with higher defensive and offensive stats that he uses to destroy Chaos Mamadare, earning him and Rista the town's admiration. However, concerned that Chaos Mana might regenerate, Saya bombs her charred remains with explosions, destroying the town, prompting the formerly thankful mayor of Adona to beg them to leave. However, on their way out, the man whom Saya saved gives the mad lad a bag of money as thanks, and the summoned hero takes it in a very unheroic way. Now back in the Divine Realm, Rista wonders how the situation with Saya is going to work out. Rista vents her frustrations to the very blessed goddess Arya, who is pointed out by Rista is very blessed in the chest area. Arya assures her it's not bad to take some time off from her hero duty train and get ready for the next battle. They don't know how difficult the road ahead is, something Arya relates to as she recounts a story about a time she was unable to save a world from a rank B demon lord. The story brought the mood down, but thankfully Saya stormed the room, startling the Busta maidens and angering his godly overseer, who became even angrier once she realized her friend may have fallen for his beauty as well. Arya introduced herself and asked for purpose after Saya's visit, to which the main man explained that his progression and stat increase had started to slow down, so he wanted Rista to make him some weights. Now since Rista can't make some weights, Arya Doe suggests the next best thing, train with a god, because both ladies can't swing a sword, even if their lives depended on it. Arya decides to ask the divine blade god Cersei to take on that task as a favor. The boys' first meeting is like any other meeting with the boys. They size each other, assist power level, and talk each other honestly. It was quite funny how the god called our boy out on looking like an emo piece of. After the trash talk is finished, the two immediately go at it and Cersei is impressed. The next day, Rista meets with a proud Cersei in the cafeteria. She asked him about the training, and he assures her that it's not only working out but working out too well from the looks of it. The following day, Rista runs into her fellow god once more, and this time she finds him a bit on the edge as he is astonished by the level and speed of growth Saya overgrew in just 2 days. From the sounds of it, the main man can now hold his own against him. Granted, the latter can't use his godly power. No matter how much he wishes for it, is forbidden to use it against humans in such a manner. On the 4th day of training, she finds Cersei hiding from Saya. We learn that the main man has already surpassed him 3 times over, yet still Saya refuses to let him go, not until the main man is 100 times stronger than him. At this point, Cuz is so terrified of the emo kid that when Saya finally catches him, he throws his sword, a divine treasure by the way, into the ocean, but Saya drags him anyway. Rista tries to stop this abuse, but Arya arrives and tells her that the head goddess wants to see her. She learns from Ishtar that some gods are not born gods but reincarnated as ones, and that the Blade God was actually a time man in his past life. It seems that after all the quote-unquote training and stress he went through with our boy, the big man's old characteristics started to resurface. In other words, our boy gave the divine blade god PTSD and made him default back to the factory setting. Jokes aside, let's get to the main reason for this meeting. Ishtar called Rista over to tell her that in response to Chaos Machina's death, the Demon Lord plans on sending the Demon Death Magla and the Undead Army to the town of Samel, where there are 2 warriors Ishtar has foreseen will be their allies. And so Rista steps out to go and get her man to the new city. When she finds Saya, she sees him on top of what was once a proud warrior, now in tears, so they waste no time and immediately transport in front of the gate, where they see the citizens fleeing the city. After filling him in on the situation and the type of monsters they are facing, Saya heads to the nearest shop and buys some holy water in bulk. After reaching the church, the duo meets Mash and Alu, 2 Dragonkin descendants. Saya, being the cautious hero he is, believes in the #1 rule of survival, stranger danger. and so he pours holy water over the priest's head, much to everyone's dismay. However, it reveals that Father Mar is an undead in disguise, and our boy defeats him without even drawing his sword. He then thoroughly destroys the body with explosions in the process. The church was destroyed. Afterward, he checks if the company present is undead in disguise or not. But what is funny is that he also pours water on the goddess to check. Moving on, after taking a look at the kid's low stats, Seiya decides to bluntly put it out there that there is no chance in hell he would take Mash and Alulu into the party. Lulu tried to convince Seiya that they still had room to grow, and could do so fast, but the main man had his doubts. The bickering was cut when the main group was confronted by a group of knights who seemed ready to throw fists. Luckily, the unconscious nun woke up and informed them about what happened. She also told them that the tall, handsome man was a hero, while the blondie was a goddess. The nun added that they were not responsible for the church turning to rubble either. The sister lied, or she was so scared and forgot what actually happened. Anyways, the knights dropped the subject immediately once they learned who the guy and chick were and asked the party for help. Seiya agrees under the condition that he receives payment. Rista opposed the idea, but the main man assured her that it was not to get a nice or maidens, but for a technique that requires a hefty amount of capital. After the parties agreed on the roles and terms they would be playing, Seiya proceeded to levitate, surprising Rista once again, as this ability wasn't originally in his kit. Seiya tells his goddess to go to the inn till he finishes dealing with a zombie army heading their way, yet Rista, being the strong, independent goddess she is, refuses, grows a pair of wings and follows him, in vain, as she is not able to keep up with Seiya. Therefore, the hero gets back to take her hand and fly away together. Rista thinks the mad lad's rock-solid heart had loosened, but instead, what got loosened was the thin threads holding the girls. Anyways, when Seiya and Rista arrive at the event area, they witness firsthand how large the undead army is. Seiya deduces the best course of action is to break them apart with bombs. Rista reminds her summoned hero that bombs and rockets don't exist in this world, to which the mad lad responds, "No need. I have acquired a skill to replace them." Seiya then uses a meteor strike skill to wipe the hordes of zombies in one fell swoop. Witnessing this level of destruction, Rista laughs maniacally, realizing she has hit the jackpot when it comes to heroes. All the while, Seiya summons another meteor, and he would have summoned a third one if he hadn't spent like 2k mana from his 15k mana pool. Now back in Samel, Ulu tells Rista that she has not seen Mash in 2 days, so they head to Seiya's room to ask for help. Upon entering, the main man flexes a new steer's sword which he made himself. Once asked how and what he used to make it, Seiya proudly explains that he used a new skill called synthesis to merge Ri's strands of hair with a normal sword to create a far more powerful version. Following that, he asks the goddess to hold on to the sword and supply him with more hair. Moving on, however, before the girls can question his Seuss behavior of collecting hair, the innkeeper delivers a gift from a stranger. Naturally, Seiya asks the goddess, who is immortal, to open it, fearing it would be an explosive. Instead, the gift was a mirror which Rista used to admire herself until she was scared shitless by a drop of blood. In reality, the mirror is a two-way viewing device that Death Magla uses to reveal to the party that he has kidnapped and tortured Mash, who acknowledges his weakness and praises Seiya for being built different. Also, instead of begging for his life, Mash asks the hero to save the world as his last request. Hearing this, Seiya walks up and asks the goddess to open a portal after he praises Mash for not being a complete weakling, telling him, "I have to admit, Mash, you don't totally suck. Once we get you out of there, I'm gonna let you carry my gear for me." The demon general didn't believe what he just heard, as there was no way in hell they could get to Mash's unknown location, which was also 1,000,000 miles away, before the blade sliced his neck. That said, this is the overly cautious hero Death Mega was dealing with. He didn't realize Seiya, being in a similar situation like this before, had already made a plan to counter such attacks if they ever happen again. As the alien zombie was about to kill the little kid, Seiya used the Dimension Blade skill to cut off Death Malay's hand through the mirror, and then used another portal from the Divine Realm to arrive there. During the fight, Death Magla summons Dark Fuss. A confident Death Magla taunts Seiya by revealing Dark Fuss' weakness is ice magic, something our hero can't use, or so they thought. Seiya throws a punch too powerful, and the ghost's color changes. He then matches the ghost's punch and freezes it. Seiya explains that he created different magic bracelets that allow him to use magic attributes he is not trained with, like ice, lightning, darkness, and many others. After he defeats Dark Virus, the main man turns his attention to a stunned Death MLA, who is about to be personally acquainted with Seiya's fist off camera. Though back in SE, Mash and Alilu are a bit emotional about what has happened so far, and who can blame them, they are still in their diapers and almost died. However, in contrast, Seiya is as chill as one can be. The kids thank him once again, and Mash asks to be his new disciple in the most respectable way. The mad lad brushes the wholesome moment off and tells them that they both will be his baggage carriers. Mash then offers to take Seiya to the Dragon's Den for there. He can acquire a new legendary weapon, yet Seiya wants to head to the Divine Realm first to train, of course. They first look for Cersei, who now has turned to cake making, which Seiya doesn't mind as long as he trains Mash, to which Cersei accepts full-heartedly upon seeing how weak his training partner is this time around. While for Alilu, Rista asks a favor from Haka, the goddess of fire, to train the little girl in the art of fire magic. This leaves Seiya with no training partner, and while looking for a new one fit for the job, Rista accidentally bumps into Valkyrie, the goddess of destruction. Noticing how powerful she is, Seiya tells Valkyrie to train him in a not very friendly manner. Valkyrie angrily confronts him with her sharp nail. Damn, those look lethal. Luckily, Ari Ajua manages to calm her at the expense of letting Valkyrie fondle her tatas. Yep, Valkyrie might be known as the goddess of destruction, but around this fandom we know her as the goddess of culture. Can we have W in the comments for Valkyrie? Moving on, Era arranges for the main man to train with Adinal, the goddess of war and anime. From what it looks like, look at her. No friends, dark eye bags, bad hair, playing with a katana, possibly doesn't leave the room to take a shower. She's one of us. Like the first training arc, we get to see the progress of the party from Rhys's perspective. Cersei, this time around, is fully locked in while Adela looks somewhat out of it. On the second day, the boys share a meal in the cafeteria until Rista crashes their bonding time. It appears Mash has grown on Seiya, with the latter giving some advice to the young one on how not to trust anyone, especially the fam. Truer words were never been spoken. After 3 days of training, Rista runs into the best girl, Adanella, and oh boy, she's different in a good way, even though Blondie doesn't agree. Likewise, Mash has improved while Lulu's training has mostly failed due to her having no affinity for flame magic. As the party is about to leave, Adela asks Seiya if she can come with him. It appears Adela has gone through the process of Yasif Foundation, sadly for the little cupcake. Seiya bluntly rejects her offer and her cake, which in turn sends the changed little girlie into a homicidal rage fit. Yet it doesn't seem to bother Seiya as he says his catchphrase, "I'm perfectly prepared, I'm 100% ready for this." When they step back to the other world, Alilu tries to train some more on her fire magic so she can be useful for the party when goes down. However, Seiya tells her as his baggage handler she doesn't need to, and then he flexes his new tech, a fire phoenix that automatically one-shots monsters under level 30 around them. Intrigued, Rista tried to take a peek at Seiya's new powers and stats, but the man didn't let her as he had already fortified his security levels from any spying eye. Later, party makes it safely to a nearby village where they buy essential materials from a local dwarf for the journey ahead. When they finally reach the cave that leads to the dragon village, Seiya destroys the gate with a technique he learned from the goddess of war to then enter a room with a magical circle gate in the center to transform people into the village, but a cautious hero trusts it not, he said. Therefore, Seiya uses a lizard to see if it's a trap, which proves to be otherwise, so they step into the portal. When they finally arrive at the dragon village, they meet Lagos, who escorts them to see Leve, the Great Mother of Dragons. The Great Mother shows Mash how to transform into a dragon, and then Alilu asks to be transformed as well, but Levia tells her that she is fated to become a mighty weapon wielded by the hero to defeat the Demon King. Leva explains to the party that the legend states the Demon Lord can only be defeated using the legendary sword, which can only be forged when a female dragonkin of human appearance offers her life. When Mash protests, Levia reveals that the Demon Lord's forces control 70% of Gia Brand, and thanks the little girl for her sacrifice, without asking her if she wants to die or not. As though Alilu bows her head, accepting her fate and showing so many mixed feelings as she wants to be helpful and not get in the way, but at the same time she wants to live. Leva then offers everyone a feast before conducting the sacred sword ceremony. The group steps out of the castle, strolling the streets and discussing the situation after the dragon Momo puts sweet Lulu on the spot, calling it a great honor to die for the cause. The group had some mixed feelings about the journey so far as well as ahead. Meanwhile, Seiya is currently threatening a dragon merchant that if his speed-up seeds turn out to be fake, he will burn his shop down. Rista confronts him for his lack of empathy towards the situation, and the hero responds there is nothing to consider, she gotta do what she has got to do. Why should I have any say in the matter? In other words, he hit him with the "it's what it is" card, and Lulu agreed while holding back the tears in her eyes as she ran away. Later that night, Rista, Mash, and Seiya are enjoying the feast, while aside from the latter, Seiya naturally feels very sussy about what he is shoving down his food hole, especially the cookies the little lizard rascals offered to them. The feast ends when Alyalu appears, wearing her fancy dress and walking on a bridge ready to jump in the pit. She first thanks her boy for everything, then thanks Rista for being kind to her, and finally asks Seiya to take care of her when she turns to the sword since, as she puts it, "I would hate to rust," and quote. Witnessing his friend about to die, Mash's heart cannot handle the moment, so he tries to stop it, but two big beefy boys block him. Lulu starts having second thoughts, so the dragon mother sends two guards to give the girl a push, turning the sacrifice ritual into a murder ritual. But fear not, our boy already had gone through his ninja training as we see him behind the guards ready to save the day. When asked for his reasons, Seiya answered someone needs to carry the equipment, and a sword sure can't carry them. Seiya then doubles down, "Their destinies mean nothing, the kid's already made a commitment to me." He also added a legend made up by an old dragon, might as well be a power trip, aka BS. Soon after this, grandstand turns into a grand layover when the home team falls to its knees. Livia reveals she anticipated this might happen, so she laced their food with a paralytic, a very genius plan that fooled everyone except, of course, Seiya. You see, the main man, being the impossibly cautious hero he is, only pretended to eat what they gave to him, adding that he would never take food made by scaly lizards because it's simply disgusting. The only food he would digest is the one made by Blondie herself, making Rista blush while pinned in a SUS position. Livia decides to confront Seiya, who, as you guessed it, comes prepared, meaning that the main man has already made a dragon-slaying sword from a special blade, hair from the Dragonkin kids, and 100 strands of hair he picked off the goddess's head, which in turn raises so many questions that shall not be answered till he finishes with the dragon. The ditch is so evil she put a curse on sweet Alyalu. That said, considering that she is not with the Demon King, Seiya asks to lift the curse and he will let her live, but she refuses and doubles down by turning into a golden dragon with more defensive stats. Seiya powers up using all the speed seeds he bought earlier. Thereafter, the MC unleashes a barrage of attacks on Levi head-on. Seeing the attacks only tickles her, everyone loses hope, and sweet Lulu accepts her fate. Yet the man of the hour appears to beg to differ as he keeps his attacking speed at an all-time high, creating a force behind the dragon, a force strong enough to push her back to the edge of the pit till she is about to fall into the abyss, forcing her to surrender. Yet not actually, she only lifted her defenses to attack back and fly, which proved to be a big mistake as it allowed the main man to damage her wings and fall to her end, or better yet fall to her new form as the legendary sword, fated to be wielded by the chosen hero. Once the party leaves the village, the kids have a special moment together, and the Blondie notices it, so she tells him to walk ahead while she talks with her boy, mostly to tell him not to pluck her hair for his weapons. During that exchange, Seiya admits to Rista that the sword he acquired is not the legendary one, just a special sword. Now outside, the gang was confronted by a group of knights, the Rose Guard Imperial Knights, asking the party to help them fight the Demon Lord's forces at Olga Fortress. So Seiya accepts and asks for directions to the castle before flying there with his party in front of everyone. Once they arrive near the demon's stronghold, the party sees a swarm of flies, so they land on the ground while hiding behind a tree. They see Beelzebub talking, demanding to see the hero Seiya for the first time, acting frenetic not because he is afraid but because he is disgusted by how the insect can talk with that mouth. Disgust soon turns to you when hordes of flies swoop in and kill several knights. Afterward, the party meets up with Rosalie Rosard, the head commander of the army and the king's daughter. There were no questions asked for the hero, as Captain Rose was very eager to charge head-on to the demon stronghold once again to fist it out with the bugs, even though she tried it the first time with a well-rested army and failed. Luckily, one of the commanders states that they need to devise a plan while the soldiers take a breather, so they head to Olga Fortress. Inside, the council holds a strategy meeting. The meeting is paused every time Seiya remarks how the enemy might be listening to their plan and send some soldiers on a wild hunt for any spies, only for them to find nothing. Annoyed by the hero's paranoid behavior, Rose slams her hand on the table and demands that she and Hero storm the demon castle head in ASAP. However, Seiya feels that the best course of action is for him to head back to the Divine Realm. Yet the princess protests along with the council, thinking the training will take 3 days, but then Rista explains that in the Divine Realm, time moves slower. In other words, they will be gone for an hour, putting the minds of the councilmen at ease, except for Rosalie, who was way too angry about her knight's death. After learning that Seiya was there that day and watched them fall to their death when called out on why he didn't do a thing to prevent it, Seiya simply told her there was nothing they could do. They were dead anyways. Rosalie still doesn't accept this answer, as she believes he should have done something. It's a hero's duty, after all, to charge ahead and face danger. In response, Seiya calls out the princess for being too reckless, and she angrily attempts to slap him. However, the main man pulls an Uno reverse card, slapping the generic Sky art style off her face and turning her into a JoJo character before continually slapping her till her cheeks turn swollen. In the Divine Realm, Seiya asks Rista to introduce him to a god who can help him. She takes him to the verdant forest to meet Midas, the goddess of archery. While Seiya is training, Rista, Mash, and Alyalu run into Cersei, who tells them that Adon is still angry with Seiya. Now at Arya's house, the busted queen senses some dormant powers inside Mash and Alyalu. Rista then heads to Adela's house to check on her, only to be spooked by the wall decorations and then by Adela herself. Thus, she sprints right away to warn Seiya, not realizing she is standing behind her like a demon ready to spill blood. However, he's able to calm her down by pulling the good old classic head pat technique. Meanwhile, the hot Mies was watching from afar with a devilish smile and an interesting take on how to eat an apple. At Arad Doa's house, Arya shows Rista some of the dormant powers that Mash and Alyalu have unlocked. While Mash can turn parts of him into a dragon on command, Alyalu can slow down and speed up anyone she touches, a perfect fit for Seiya as support. When Rista tells Aroda about Seiya's training with Mayus, a worried Aroda reveals that Mayus was banished because she is a nymphomaniacal goddess. Hearing this, Rista rushes to her beloved before he gets kicked out of heaven for having a taste of Midas's divine glutes, something Rista is greatly against, but she would have been fine with him claiming her cheeks though. When she arrives at the scene, Rista sees Seiya perfectly fine while Mayus is tied to a tree with no clothes. There was some impressive animation at play here, but sadly I don't think we can show it. Thus, with a heavy heart, we have to move to C's last lesson: shoot all the Robs at the same time to the crazy chick free in her birthday suit. Consequently, Seiya shoots, but not the Robs. Instead, he shoots the nymphomaniac right in the head to free the crazy chick in her birthday suit. After she frees herself, Mitt lustfully attacks Seiya like a Tasmanian devil and receives 3 arrows, 2 to the eyes and 1 to the mouth. But since gods can't die as well as this chick's crazy lust, she jumps at Mash. However, Seiya has already expected this, so he ultimately pins her to a tree with 5 arrows. Later, when the party arrives at the kingdom's castle, they learn that the princess has gone to the demon's stronghold. Thus, they fly to Beelzebub's lair, and just like last time, the group hides in the jungle with a plan to use the brain-dead Rosalie as bait to snipe the fly general. Unfortunately, not only do some flies go near their area and distract the main man from taking a shot, but also the knights that came with the princess walk into the party's location and start making some noise, grabbing unwanted attention, causing the general to fly away with the princess just as he is about to drop her. Rista distracts him long enough for Seiya to shoot an arrow at him. Once Rosalie is rescued, Bebub turns his attention to Seiya and challenges him to land a hit, so our boy shoots 7 arrows that the budget-cut terraformer dodges. When Bebub attempts to attack Seiya, he gets killed by, what, you ask? Well, you see, when the bug dodged, the arrows turn into birds like Phoenix that flew back and attacked from behind, ending the terraformer's reign. After Beelzebub's defeat, his horde gets dealt with. Seiya shoots them down with his new bow skill that looks more like a machine gun than a bow, and then steps aside for the kids to shine, or in other words, collect the insects for him to turn them into ash and dust. Rosalie sees this and mocks him, then reluctantly tells Seiya about a legendary suit of armor in a shrine near the village of Isol. When the party arrives there, they find the village in ruins. They get confronted by the merchant, who once sold them essentials for their journey. The dwarf's true name is Killup, one of the 4 heavenly kings, who reveals that he destroyed the armor so Seiya cannot use it. Killup admits to the party that he knows he is not powerful enough, so he exchanges his life along with the heads of his family and the souls of the village folk to invoke the greatest of summoning magic. Once he does, the Reaper Cross to Thanatus gets summoned, a Naruto-goofy-looking summon with no stats, just gibberish numbers and signs. Seiya creates some distance between them and hits the ghost with a double wind strike, which results in the demon ghost splitting. The latter then fires back at the main man and lands a hit, much to everyone's shock. With this turn of events, Seiya has Rista send the party to the Divine Realm. When they arrive in the Holy Land, the main man seems seriously injured, but turns out it's only a bruise. After Rista heals it, the ghost summon appears from thin air after it broke the dimension barrier. Some gods stepped in to put the demon back in its place to no avail. Seiya, being the only smart character in that series, starts sprinting, and soon the rest of the party follows. For every mile they pass, a god steps in to stop the ghost demon, but evidently fails one after the other. The only god that was able to slow the freak of nature was the little girl Adon Ella, who cut the ghost into little tiny pieces, but it proved counterproductive as they multiplied and kicked her ass. Now running on a bridge for their lives, Seiya reveals that he has a plan. On the temple roof, Valkyrie was painting when Thanatos, chasing the group, caught up to them and destroyed her piece thanks to Seiya dodging his charge. Yep, the plan was to lure the indestructible demon for the strongest goddess to destroy it. After Valkyrie used multiple of her signature attacks that didn't work on the ghost demon, she threw her power restrictions aside and powered up to show the ghost who is the top dog around these corners of the world. Then, with her ultimate skill, Gate of Valhalla, she defeated the monster. You see, the skill she used could trap anything and throw them to a realm called the Void where demons and gods have no power. Yet, it has a very harsh toll on the body, a deadly one that no mere mortal can withstand. Seiya is impressed enough to ask the destruction goddess to train him and keeps insisting on it despite Valkyrie's warning about the severe training regime she has. She then agrees upon seeing his fighting spirit and determination. Consequently, Mash and Alialu decide to head to Arad Doa's house, so they too can get stronger for the foe they will be facing ahead. This leaves Rista, who runs into the Wust sword god. He informs that Ishtar wants to see her. At Ishtar's house, Ishtar tells Rista that the last of the 4 heavenly kings is leading an army, so they need to move on the double. The next day, Rista arrives at Arad Doa's house to see how advanced Mash and Lulu's training has gone. Mash is now able to unleash his dragon form on command at 100%, while little Lulu is now able to control the speed boost of her support spells. The group then heads to Valkyrie's house, where they find the main man in a very Susie position. Seiya explains it's just training, while Valkyrie trash talks Rista, who pulls what looks like a voodoo doll she made from her hair to help Loverboy with his item crafting. While everyone is freaked out by this unhinged behavior, Seiya appreciates it and he stores it away before leaving back to the other world. Afterward, they head to Gab, where they see Wol's Rose Guard easily defeat a Razor Kaiser and his army, proving once again old men in the 2D world are overpowered. However, it is always with a catch, and when Rista questions it, the old JE turns into a child. The party is stunned when they see Wol's turning into a child, so the annoying princess comes to get the man-child back to his castle. Meanwhile, the party decides to head to town where they walk past so many fun places perfect to blow some steam. However, Seiya wants to continue moving and buy some medical herbs, which offends Rista as she is the party healer, so she has a competition with a merchant to see whose healing is more effective, and funny enough she loses to plants, reducing her value even more. Once they are set and done, they head to the castle. Inside, Rosalie tells them that her father was cursed by the Demon King, turning him into a baby whenever he uses his powers, adding that he does not have long to live. Rose then asks the hero to refuse assistance from her father if he asks a thing Seiya agrees to. While the party meets with Walls, he receives a message that the Demon Lord's forces are attacking the capital. Seiya takes Mash and Alialu with him while he has Rista stay behind with Wolves, much to her dismay. Thereafter, Wolves shows Rista around the cathedral, and the pair chit-chat a bit about hero works and God's nature, how they can live forever. Naturally, it was confusing the amount of knowledge the old man had, and when Rista questioned it, the king revealed that the Demon Lord created a magical item called Chain Destruction, which is capable of destroying the real souls of gods and heroes. In other words, if they die by that weapon, they die for good. There is no reincarnation arc. The king also revealed he has joined forces with the Demon Lord, upon realizing he is not fated to be the hero that will save the world, so he went for the next best thing, killing the hero with a god-killer sword and cementing his name in history. Just as he is about to kill Rista, Seiya returns having already thought about the possibility it's a trap. When asked if he could see the future, Seiya answered, "Nah bruh, I just kept overthinking and decided you smell like a Susie Baka." During the confrontation, Wolves eats a small menacing ball and becomes a demon, now back in his younger body. The new Demon Lord matches Seiya's speed and power, so Seiya removes the weights on his wrists to move even faster. Also, Seiya gets another sword and lights it on fire to perform an advanced version of the Eternal Sword, not to mention that Lulu has already cast a speed spell on him. Sadly though, with all these upgrades, it is still not enough since the Demon War Master adapted to it too quickly. Evidently, Wolves appears to have the fight won when he takes Seiya's arm. However, Seiya uses Counter Break, a skill he learned from Valkyrie, which returns the same damage to wolves. Ultimately, the old-timer's understatement of the cautious hero has cost him a lot. Once Wolves is defeated, Seiya tells Rista to heal him as well as the old geezer, and has Rosalie speak to her father after slapping her multiple times like a true gender equality advocate to make her realize that her father, regardless of what side he stands on, is still her father, and he is dying as if her father didn't threaten to kill her when he was on his demon time. Oh well, the old geezer passes away with a smile on his face, and Princess Rose becomes the new queen. 3 days later, Seiya recovers and allows the party to have fun much to their shock. All the while he goes shopping for more essentials. Rista, Mash, and Ayalu spend the day enjoying themselves. When they head back to their hotel room, they notice that Seiya is not there. With the sun setting down, the group gets impatient waiting for the main man, so they go out to look around every place he might be. Yet they don't find him. Not a single merchant has seen him that evening. Therefore, the group decides to go and seek answers at Ishtar's house. There they find a distraught Aroda, who escorts them to Ishtar's location where the true souls of gods and summoned heroes are kept. Ishtar reveals that Seiya went to the Demon Lord's castle alone due to the former not wanting to risk the kids' lives nor the goddess's life because, remember, the Demon King possesses a weapon that can kill anything, and in the final showdown, any minor mistake or misstep can be deadly. Ishtar continues to explain that despite his personality and demeanor, Seiya actually cares about them more than he lets on. He was acting like a douche, so they stay at arm's length, or better yet, not join the party and quit the saving the world thing so they don't risk their lives. When Rista notes he just has to train some more and they will be fine, Ishtar reveals that Seiya has maxed out his stats long ago since the fight with the dragons. To compensate for the lack of sheer power, Seiya opted to learn new skills like shining arrows and the Valkyrie techniques. Also, to add more fuel to this dumpster fire, Seiya apparently has reached his max for acquiring new skills. Now combine all these with the fact he doesn't have a legendary weapon that can harm the Demon Lord or the tough armor he was supposed to get early on. Seiya's only way to defeat the Demon Lord is through V's forbidden technique Gate of Valhalla, which will cost him his life. Old Nanny Ishtar then drops the bombshell news that this is not Seiya's first rodeo. Rista is shown footage from 100 years ago, from a time when Arad Doa previously summoned Seiya to a B-rank world. Back then, Seiya would recklessly fight enemies while unprepared, much to the dismay of his party healer, who kind of looks like our lovely, useless goddess. When the party fought the Demon Lord, it appeared they had killed him. However, he revealed that he had 2 lives. As a result, he was able to kill the party, including Seiya, Princess Tiana, and their unborn child. After watching the footage, Ishtar reveals to Rista that she is the reincarnation of Princess Tiana. Meanwhile, Seiya went back to the human realm with no memories of that world. Yet the experiences he went through and the regret he felt that day got etched into his soul and changed his personality forever. Upon learning all these bits of information, and despite warnings from Arad Doa as well as Ishtar, Rista insists on finding Seiya. The goddess opens a portal straight to the Demon Lord's castle. Mash and Ayalu ask to join her, which the goddess accepts after making it clear they are putting their lives on the line. Rista, Mash, and Ayalu arrive in the heart of the Demon Lord's castle. Before they can help, however, Seiya unleashes the Gate of Valhalla, much to the goddess's pleas to not use it. The Demon Lord was surprised that our boy was able to break through his anti-magic field, to which the latter explains that this technique, although sounds fancy, is not magic. As such, the Demon Lord gets penetrated by iron spikes. Yet when all is said and done, the gate is not enough as the Demon Lord sheds off his humanoid form. So Seiya uses his Phoenix Thrust after the magic barrier is deactivated, and with his Eternal Sword skill combined with the Voodoo Doll to enhance his sword even more, Seiya was able to take the ugly bastard out his misery. Sadly, due to the skill's effects, Seiya's life force begins to crumble. Therefore, Rista demands the full use of her healing ability, which the head goddess warns her if she uses it, Rista will be stripped of her goddess ranking. Yet the Giga-Chad Blondie responds with a simple, "I do not care, now give it to me." With her full strength, Rista manages to heal Seiya's wounds in time. As usual, Rista tries to force herself on our boy and demands a kiss for saving his life, but the main lad says no to horny and bonks her on the head. That said, he does give her credit where credit is due. Soon after, the little girl points out how the gate hasn't disappeared yet, and suddenly the Demon Lord bursts out from the gate with his third scary form. To be honest, it looked more like a depressed sperm cell than an S-tier Demon Lord form. Oh well, Seiya steps forward and calls forth a second Gate of Valhalla that is bigger and way spookier, which finally defeats the Demon Lord once and for all. Yep, This gate is far scarier than the Demon Lord was, and it's far more lethal as it demands the life of Gate Summoner. Rista begs the Gate to spare him as the hero just saved the world all by himself, but the Gate person doesn't care, and we see Seiya breaking apart. Seiya then says his goodbyes to his companions and disappears with a smile after realizing who Rista is, or rather was. Soon after, we see the kids getting dubbed as heroes and joining the knights under the new ruler of the land, Queen Rose. The queen promises to take good care of the kids and they bid Rista farewell. Sometime later, Rista is subsequently summoned to be punished. She is informed that she will be sent to save an SS Plus rank world Exaria, which she failed to save in the past. This will be her punishment for breaking the rules, and during the mission, she will not be allowed to use her divine healing power. If she fails, she will be stripped of her divinity. Rista resigns herself to her fate, but before she is dismissed, Ishtar mentions that while you usually aren't allowed to summon the same hero twice, she's going to make an exception for Rista's sake. She pulls out a list of heroes for Rista to choose from, and on that list, there's a very familiar, overly cautious man's name written on it.